Hey, from Easy YouTube, this is Robbie speaking, and that's right, the 12 Days of Anime, you read the title. If you remember in my 12 Days of Anime intro video, I think that's what you call it. Basically, I talked about what I was going to be doing, which was go over 12 anime that I think would be a good start for anybody who's trying to get into anime, whether you're starting to get into anime, or you have a friend who's trying to get into anime, but you don't know what they should watch first. Here we are, though. Over here you have Death Note. Now, Death Note is one of the most unique animes to come out. Even to this day, people still talk about it, despite the fact that it came out like a couple decades ago, I think, something like that. Damn. Death Note is about a guy named Light Yagami who finds a note titled The Death Note. And the reason why it's called The Death Note is because if you write someone's name in there, they die. So he kills so many criminals, and even though he thinks this is a heroic thing to do, others see it as a crime. They see Light Yagami as a villain, which is pretty much what he is. He is pretty much the villain of the show, despite the fact that he is the main protagonist. And I find that very unique, though, where you have the villain as your main character. But it works so well. It really does. It's kind of like with Breaking Bad, where you have Walter White kind of start off as a normal good guy, but then he just slowly becomes this really evil bastard and will do anything to cover his tracks. He does have this one rival named L, who L is determined to bust Light Yagami for his crime that he has done. A true example of how animes can be unique, though, without following some of the other genres like isekai, shonen, or slice of life. Those genres are great, don't get me wrong, though, and we'll get to those in just a moment, but if you want something that's a bit similar to Breaking Bad or some other show that has some thrills, Death Note is your first great choice. Over here we have Ushontora. Again, if I'm pronouncing Japanese names, guys, I have a hard time pronouncing them, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Ushontora. Now, this is an underrated anime, though. I understand that you've probably never heard of this anime before, though I have talked about it on my channel before as a review video in my classic animes, so I might be a bit repetitive if I talk about certain things that you may have recognized in my review video. I apologize for that, but it's a very short anime. It's like 39 episodes, I think, and it's like the shortest shonen anime I've ever watched. And that's one of the reasons why I recommend this to you, though, if you're starting to watch anime, because some of the other shonen, actually most of the shonen anime out there, are just so damn long, especially One Piece. I get that. That's why I won't recommend One Piece if you're starting to watch anime, but Ushontora has that exception. Usho is the human, Tora is the tiger-like demon character. They are both enemies, but are forced to work together to take down the other demons, because there are other demons that are way worse than Tora, like way worse. And that's another thing, though, too, though. Tora is the best thing about this show. Much like with Light Yagami, remember when I said Light Yagami is a true example of how a villain can be the main character? I really feel like Tora really carries the torch with Ushio, and that these two are just such a great, unlikely duo, though. And over here we have Lupin the Third, the Castle of Cagliostro. Again, mispronouncing names and everything like that. But anyway, though, now I know, for those of you who already know, this is a movie. I get that. But one of the reasons why I recommend this to you is because it's an introduction to Lupin the Third, one of the greatest anime icons out there, up there with Astro Boy, Goku from Dragon Ball. This movie's about Lupin the Third on another adventure with his allies, but only this time they go after a princess, and this is pretty much just rescue the princess, which we've seen in other movies. It's still a fun ride, though. You really are curious to see how Lupin is going to save this girl from the bad guy. And you really enjoy some of the other supporting characters as well, though. You get to know them as much as you get to know Lupin himself. When I watched this for the first time with my best friend Chandler, we watched it on Netflix, and we've never seen anything that was like anything titled Lupin the Third, though. With this being my introduction to Lupin the Third, I need to watch more, like It's just hard to figure out like what I should watch though, because some people say you should watch it in order, some people say you can start off with part 4 or something like that. I don't know, I'm just a little confused, guys, so if you want to leave it in the comments down below, let me know. Over here we have Masonic Coco, which is probably another anime that you've never heard of before, but I still recommend this to you guys because of the romance and the slice of life feel though. 2 leads, a male lead and a female lead. The male lead is a college student who is trying so hard to study for his exams, but his noisy alcoholic neighbors get in the way. And then you have the building manager, Kyoko Otonashi, who is the female lead. They both fall in love, but Kyoko has this one dark history, and she is a widow. She is a very young widow who is struggling to get past what she went through and to move forward with the main character, the male lead himself. Now, this is a very long anime. Actually, it's not that long, but it's a bit long. I think it's like 90-something episodes, if I'm not mistaken. But that gives us so much time to get to know these characters, to see the chemistry between Godai, the male lead, and Kyoko, the female lead. But it also has a lot of lighthearted moments, a lot of comedy. It's pretty much just a balance of comedy and drama. And the comedy especially comes from the supporting characters. They really put a smile on your face. You really feel like they lighten the mood. If you love romance, if you want to get to know the slice of life genre, Masonic Coco is your first great shot at that. Let's go to a shorter anime, and a completely different one at that, Cowboy Bebop. This is another anime when people think like, oh, I need to get into anime, I should watch Cowboy Bebop. And that is exactly right. You should watch Cowboy Bebop, and maybe that's your first anime. I mean, so Cowboy Bebop is a space western. And when we think of space westerns, we think of The Mandalorian, the Star Wars spin-off show that everybody loves. Cowboy Bebop has those themes that a space western has. You have these mercenaries taking on these missions, these assignments. They're trying to collect these bounties to make money, but have a hard time feeding their bellies. You have Spike Spiegel, the chill one. You have Jet, the leader. You have Faye, the hot but also kind of smart mouth member. And you have Ed, who's just this crazy, immature kid who's always playing around with computers, going like this. The theme song to this is so memorable, though. Every time you watch Cowboy Bebop, you have to watch the opening for every episode because it's worth not skipping. Even if you want to watch the next episode, you have to watch the opening. And I would play that song for you guys, but copyright. Now on to the Big O. This is about a dude named Roger Smith who fights in this town in a giant robot suit. This is part of the mecha genre, where you have people who fight in giant robot suits to fight monsters or other giant robot suits for that matter. Another thing about Big O though is that it has some similarities to Batman, especially the Batman animated series from the 90s. But that doesn't make it a ripoff though. Even though it looks a bit similar to the Batman animated series, that doesn't make it a ripoff. That shouldn't turn you away. In fact, that should pull you in a bit more because this art style looks amazing. I reviewed Big O before on my channel. It was a great watch, and it's going to be a great watch for you if you give Big O a chance. Now on to Space Dandy. He's a dandy guy in space. And I'm not even joking though. The narrator in every episode says that Space Dandy is a dandy guy in space. Space Dandy and his dandy crew go to these alien worlds to find new alien species. So it sounds a bit similar to Cowboy Bebop, which, another side note, Space Dandy is directed by the same person who also directed Cowboy Bebop. But it's so different though. It's really different from Cowboy Bebop because Space Dandy is a comedy. And when it has, for example, sometimes at the end of each episode, it'll end where Space Dandy gets blown up, or Space Dandy becomes a zombie, or Space Dandy goes through this specific moment and doesn't affect the rest of the series. That's pretty much what it is, though. It's a total comedy, but despite it being a comedy, it also has its serious moments. There's this one episode where Space Dandy finds this little girl, this little alien girl. He at first wants to collect the reward money, but he decides to do the opposite by taking the little alien girl home. I was really shocked because when I saw this on Adult Swim, I was used to Space Dandy being a total comedy. I didn't think it was ever going to take itself seriously until that very episode. So Space Dandy kind of took me for a loop, but a good loop at that. Now back to the space westerns, and that is Trigun right here. Trigun, the only major difference with Trigun is that Cowboy Bebop takes place mostly in space, of course, but Trigun takes place on a desert planet. And that gives it more of a Western feel. Like, it gives you more of that cowboy feel, only with these high-tech machines, vehicles, and everything like that. Anyway, Trigun is about this one guy named Fast Stampede who is on the run. But why is he on the run, though? When he's just this fun, goofy, loving dude, and he's just one of the kindest-hearted people you'll ever come across in this show. You'll have to watch the show for yourself because he has a dark history, though. He has a very dark history with what happened all those years ago. Also, the supporting characters are also fun as well as some of the villains. Trigun, definitely give this a shot. If Cowboy Bebop deserves a shot, give Trigun a shot. But now on to the most serious anime on my list, and as you can see, it's Black Lagoon. This is more like a modern day Cowboy Bebop. And what I mean by that, though, instead of, okay, so you have mercenaries as the main characters, but it takes place in the real world, in the ocean, because they have a ship, a boat, that they just sail around. They take on these missions, ransoms, bounties, mercenary assignments, and at the end of the day, they make money. That's like way more gunfights than any other anime that I've seen. I mean, even more than Cowboy Bebop, than Trigun, especially with the female lead, Two Hands. A lot of people say she is waifu material, even though she is just crazy and obsessed with having fun and thrill with her guns. She is a true example of a badass waifu. And now on to Avatar: The Last Airbender. And no, this does not mean that I consider Avatar an anime. In fact, I still don't consider it an anime. But the reason why I put this on the 12 Days of Anime is because some people still haven't seen it. And I feel like for this one, I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to bring up Avatar. I still feel like it shares some of the same tropes, especially with the shonen genre. You have a main teen lead who goes on an adventure, who has a dream to become the best. That's pretty much what Aang is, the main character right here, though. He is the last Airbender, and also the Avatar, which is where you have all four elements: water, wind, earth. He has his friends as well, though, and these friends are just so fun. They're fun to have around with Aang on his adventure because he can't do this alone. So you need these other supporting characters with him on this adventure. Now on to a completely different anime, and that is The Devil is a Part-Timer. Now, this is slice of life, but also an isekai, kind of. Now, if you don't know what an isekai is, it's pretty much like Alice in Wonderland or Wizard of Oz. So where does this character go? Like, instead of going to a completely different world that's just so bizarre, he goes to our world, the real world. So, but that's not all. He also gets a job, a part-time job at McDonald's, or a place that is similar to McDonald's in that anime. So I pretty much just summed up what this show is about, though. Pretty bizarre premise, if you ask me. People call this the reverse isekai, but it still gives you an idea of what isekai is, though, because it was very hard to figure out like what's a good starter isekai for you guys, though, because some of the other ones are just kind of more complex in that, whereas The Devil is a Part-Timer, not so much. And it will get you excited for that second season. But now on to the last anime on this list. As you can see, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I love this anime. I mean, I pretty much love some of the other animes, well, all the animes on this list, but Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is probably one of my favorites. I love the characters. I enjoy the animation. I enjoy the story. I enjoy the mystery, the twist, the turns, all of it. So, you have the two main characters, two brothers, Alphonse and Edward, who are alchemists. Basically, alchemy is like a magic science. I don't know if that makes sense or not. You'll have to watch the show for yourself if you want to get a better idea of what alchemy is. But they use these powers to fight bad guys, but also try to figure out how to get their bodies back, because Edward has a mechanical arm, and the other brother, he is stuck in this armor that he can't get out of, so the only way to do that is to figure out this mystery that takes them the entirety of the show. But you're patient with it, though. I really love the chemistry between the two brothers. I love Edward and Alphonse. They don't argue with each other too much. They really feel like brothers, not just through blood, but also through heart, through bond. Because at the end of the day, they have each other's backs. And that's why I will always recommend Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood to anybody who is starting to watch anime. That is it for this video of 12 starter anime. Well, let me know what you guys think, though. Like, are there some anime that you think should have been on this list? Like, let me know in the comments down below. I'm all ears. You may think like, oh, that anime should have been on here, or that anime. Like I said, all ears. Really fun, though, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year. That's going to be a long way from now, but I just enjoyed this moment, so thank you guys for watching this video. It means a lot. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe, so that way you get more videos like this every time I upload. I'm Rob A, and may the anime force be with you. And one more thing, have a Merry Christmas.